For years, every friend, every commercial, every diet book has told you the same thing. If you want to fix your blood sugar, you have to cut carbs. Rice, bread, fruit, pasta, everything you love. But here is what 15 years of clinical practice have quietly taught me. The fastest way to bring a high blood sugar down, often within days, is not to remove food from your plate. It is to add the right foods to it. 10 specific foods. And I have watched hundreds of patients bring their numbers down and hold them down for months and even years, without medication, without misery, and without giving up the food that made them who they are. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use each of these 10 foods to fully optimize your biochemistry and reverse insulin resistance at the cellular level, so your blood sugar comes down quickly, naturally, and most importantly, sustainably. Before I get into the first one, do me a quick favor. If you want more videos that explain the why behind your body instead of just handing you another pill hit subscribe, give this a like and leave me a comment telling me what your morning fasting number was this week. I read every single one, and the age and the numbers of this audience genuinely shape what I cover next. So let's get into it. Here is what almost nobody explains to you in a 12-minute office visit. High blood sugar almost always starts upstream with a hormone called insulin. Insulin is the hormone that unlocks your cells so glucose, the sugar in your blood, can leave your bloodstream and get into the cell where it belongs. When you have spent years riding the blood sugar roller coaster, your cells stop answering the door, the insulin knocks and knocks, and the cell stays shut. We call that insulin resistance. Your pancreas pumps out more and more insulin to compensate. Your blood sugar climbs anyway. And the standard answer is a prescription that pushes even more insulin into a system that is already drowning in it. The system makes money when you stay sick, not when you get well. That is economics, not malice. There is no revenue and no time on a short office visit to teach you how food talks directly to your insulin receptors. So let me give you that time. My name is Dr. Ember, and every one of these 10 foods does one of 3 jobs. It slows the sugar coming in, it cools the inflammation that keeps your cells deaf to insulin, or it wakes the insulin receptor back up so your own body does the work it was designed to do. You do not have to do all 10 tomorrow. Add them in over the next couple of weeks and stack them. Let me show you the first one. The first food is fenugreek seeds. These are small, hard, amber-colored seeds, and you can find them in the spice aisle of almost any grocery store for a couple of dollars. If you ignore this one because it sounds exotic, you are walking past one of the most powerful blood sugar tools on the shelf, and it costs less than your coffee. Here is what fenugreek does inside you. The seed is packed with a soluble fiber called galactomannan. When it hits the water in your stomach, it swells into a thick gel. And that gel physically slows how fast your stomach empties carbohydrates into your small intestine. Slower emptying means the sugar trickles into your blood instead of flooding it. No flood, no giant spike, no panic dump of insulin. On top of that, fenugreek carries an amino acid that nudges your pancreas to release insulin more efficiently and helps your muscle cells take up glucose. In my own practice, I have watched fasting numbers come down within a week or 2 on this alone. To use it, take 1 teaspoon of the whole seeds and soak them in a glass of water overnight. In the morning, drink the water and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. If the slightly bitter taste is too much, grind them and stir a half teaspoon into yogurt or sprinkle it over your eggs. Start low. This fiber is strong and your gut needs a few days to adjust. Number 2 is cinnamon, and you almost certainly already have it in your cupboard, but the kind you have matters, and most people grab the wrong one. The common grocery cinnamon is cassia, and it carries a compound called coumarin that is hard on the liver in large daily doses. The one you want is Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon. It is milder, it is safer to take every day, and it is the one I tell my own patients to buy. What makes cinnamon work is a group of polyphenols. Those are natural plant compounds that behave almost like insulin themselves. They help your insulin receptors grip glucose more tightly, and they slow your stomach from emptying too fast after a meal. The effect is real, and it is measurable. Research out of the Human Nutrition Program at the USDA found that under half a teaspoon a day meaningfully lowered fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. If you skip this one, you're leaving an easy win sitting in your spice rack. Use about a quarter to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon a day. Stir it into your oatmeal, your coffee, or a smoothie. The trick is to pair it with a carbohydrate meal, because that is exactly when you want your receptors gripping harder and your stomach slowing down. Third on the list is broccoli sprouts. And I want you to pay close attention here, because this one is the most underused food in this entire video. Not full broccoli, the little 3-day-old sprouts. Ignore the distinction and you miss almost all the benefit. Broccoli sprouts are loaded with a compound called sulforaphane, and the sprouts contain somewhere between 50 and 100 times more of it than a head of mature broccoli. Sulforaphane does something none of the other foods on this list do quite as directly. It goes to your liver and quiets down the overnight glucose factory. Your liver makes sugar while you sleep, and in insulin resistance, it makes far too much, which is why so many of you wake up with a high fasting number you cannot explain. A 2017 study from Lund University in Sweden gave concentrated sulforaphane to people with type 2 diabetes and brought their fasting blood sugar down measurably, with the strongest effect in exactly the people whose sugar was hardest to control. You can grow broccoli sprouts on your own counter in a jar for pennies or buy them in the produce section. A small handful, a quarter cup on a salad or sandwich most days is plenty. Do not cook them hard because high heat destroys the active compound. Eat them raw or barely wilted. So far, every food has done the same quiet work slowing the sugar down or waking the receptor up, and we are only 3 in. The next 4 are the ones that change the meals you are already eating. If a friend or someone in your family is fighting their numbers too, send them this video, because this is the stuff no one has ever sat them down and explained. Anyway, number 4 is the avocado. Most people think of it as a fat to avoid because of the calories and that fear is costing them. The fat in an avocado is monounsaturated fat, the same family as olive oil, and it is one of the most blood sugar friendly things you can put on a plate. The reason is simple. That healthy fat and the fiber inside an avocado slow your entire meal down. When you add half an avocado to a plate of rice or toast, you are not removing the carbohydrate. You are putting a brake on how fast it turns into blood sugar. The glucose climbs gently instead of spiking. Over time, monounsaturated fat has also been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells answer that insulin knock a little faster. In my experience, this is the easiest food on the list to make a habit because it makes the meal more filling. And you stop reaching for a snack an hour later. Half an avocado a day is a sensible amount. Put it on your eggs in the morning. Mash it onto whole grain toast. Or add it to a salad that already has a starch in it. Anywhere you have a carbohydrate, an avocado softens the blow. 5th is chia seeds. These are tiny gray and black seeds, and they punch far above their size. If you have ever seen chia sit in liquid and turn into a pudding, you have already seen exactly how it works in your gut. Chia is one of the richest sources of soluble fiber you can buy. When it meets the water in your stomach, it forms that same thick gel we talked about with fenugreek. And that gel wraps around the carbohydrates in your meal and slows their absorption to a crawl. The sugar releases slowly and steadily so you avoid the spike and the crash that leaves you shaky and hungry an hour later. Chia also carries a plant-based omega-3 fat that helps calm the low-grade inflammation sitting underneath insulin resistance. Cool the inflammation and the cells start listening to insulin again. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day does the job. Stir it into yogurt. Drop it into a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon. Or blend it into a smoothie. Give it 10 minutes to gel before you drink it, and drink plenty of water alongside because all that fiber needs liquid to move. Number 6 is fatty fish. And I mean salmon and mackerel. Specifically, this one does not work by slowing your meal down. It works on the deeper problem, the reason your cells went deaf to insulin in the first place. Insulin resistance is driven in large part by chronic inflammation. When your body is quietly inflamed year after year, that inflammation physically interferes with the insulin signal at the surface of the cell. Salmon and mackerel are loaded with 2 omega-3 fats, EPA and DA, and these are among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds we know of. They lower the inflammatory signals, the cell membrane gets healthier, and the insulin receptor starts working the way it is supposed to. In my 15 years of practice, the patients who eat fatty fish twice a week consistently have calmer, more stable numbers, and better blood pressure to go with it. Aim for 2 servings a week, about the size of your palm each. Wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring are all excellent. Bake it, grill it, or buy it canned if that is easier on your budget. Canned mackerel and sardines are some of the cheapest, most powerful foods in this entire video. 7th on the list is walnuts. Of all the nuts, this is the one I point my patients toward first because of what it does for the lining of your blood vessels and for your insulin at the same time. Walnuts are rich in polyunsaturated fat and the same plant omega-3 found in chia. That fat improves the function of your endothelium, the thin lining inside your blood vessels, which is one of the first things high blood sugar damages. At the same time, the fat, fiber, and protein in walnuts blunt the rise in blood sugar after a meal and have been shown to lower fasting insulin, which is the number underneath your blood sugar that tells you how hard your pancreas is straining. Eat a small handful as a snack instead of crackers or a cookie, and you have taken a sugar spike and turned it into a flat line. A small handful is about 1/4 cup or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Keep them raw or dry roasted, not the candied or honey-coated kind. Use them to replace a processed snack, not to add on top of one. Number 8 is eggs, whole eggs, yolk included. For years, people were told the yolk was the enemy, and that bad advice pushed folks towards sugary breakfast cereals that were far worse for their blood sugar. Let me set that straight. A whole egg is almost pure protein and fat with virtually no carbohydrate, which means on its own, it barely moves your blood sugar at all. But the real magic is what doctors call the second meal effect. When you start your day with eggs instead of toast or cereal, you steady your blood sugar not just at breakfast, but all the way through to lunch. You walk into your next meal with calmer numbers and a smaller spike. The protein and fat also keep you full, so the mid-morning cravings that send you toward the cookie jar quietly disappear. In my practice, swapping a cereal breakfast for 2 or 3 eggs is one of the single fastest changes I see on a morning glucose reading. 2 or 3 whole eggs in the morning is a solid target for most people. Scramble them, boil them ahead for the week. Or fold in some spinach. Put that avocado from earlier right on top, and you have built a near perfect blood sugar breakfast. Number 9 is apple cider vinegar, and this is the one with the fastest visible effect on a glucose meter of anything on this list. If you have a meter at home, you can watch this one work tonight. The active ingredient is acetic acid. It does 2 things at once. It slows your stomach from emptying, so the carbohydrates in your meal arrive in your bloodstream gradually. And it helps your muscles pull glucose out of your blood and use it for fuel. The research here is strong. Work led by Dr. Carol Johnston at Arizona State University found that a tablespoon of vinegar before a carbohydrate meal lowered the after-meal blood sugar spike by roughly 20 to 30% in people with insulin resistance. That is a drug-sized effect from something that costs a few dollars a bottle. Take 1 tablespoon, and this matters, dilute it in a full glass of water 10 to 15 minutes before a meal that has carbohydrates in it. Always dilute it, never drink it straight, because the acid is hard on tooth enamel and the throat. And if you take any medication for blood sugar already, talk to your doctor first, because vinegar plus that medication can push your sugar down faster than you expect. The 10th food is lentils. And this one proves the whole point of this video. Lentils are a carbohydrate and they will lower your blood sugar. Here is how that works. Lentils are built from a slow carbohydrate called resistant starch, wrapped in soluble fiber and a healthy dose of plant protein. That combination means the glucose inside the lentil is released into your blood slowly and steadily over hours instead of all at once. They actually carry the second meal effect too. So a bowl of lentil soup at lunch gives you steadier sugar into the evening. Clinically, swapping white rice or white potato for lentils a few times a week is one of the most reliable ways I know to bring down an A1C, which is your 3-month average blood sugar. Aim for a half a cup to a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week. Use them in a soup, a stew, or a cold salad with olive oil and a splash of the vinegar we just covered. They are filling, they are cheap, and they stretch a meal further than almost anything else. Let me tell you about someone I will call Donna. 63 years old, recently retired, came to me frightened because her fasting sugar was sitting around 180 and her doctor had just told her it was time to add a second medication. She did not want to spend the rest of her life climbing the medication ladder, and she was scared of where this was heading because she had watched her own mother lose toes and then her eyesight to the same disease. We did not cut her carbohydrates to nothing. We added eggs and avocado in the morning instead of cereal, a tablespoon of vinegar before her bigger meals, lentils swapped in for the white rice, walnuts instead of the afternoon cookie, fatty fish twice a week, cinnamon in her coffee, and broccoli sprouts on her sandwich at lunch. Within the first week, her fasting numbers started dropping. Within 3 months, working alongside her own doctor, she had come down off that second medication entirely, and her A1C had moved from the diabetic range back toward normal. 2 years later, it is held. She did not starve herself. She ate more food, just the right food, and her own body did the rest. So let me tie all 10 of these together, because this is the reason they work when cutting carbs alone fails. Every one of these foods is handing your insulin its job back without starving you. The fiber foods slow the glucose down so your pancreas never has to panic. The fish, the walnuts, and the chia cool the inflammation that was jamming the signal. The cinnamon and the vinegar walk right up to the insulin receptor and help it grip again. Do that meal after meal, day after day, and the cell that stopped answering the door slowly starts opening it on the first knock again. That is what reversing insulin resistance means at the cellular level. And once it happens, your body holds your sugar down on its own, which is exactly why Donna's numbers stayed low for 2 full years. Before I give you tonight's plan, I need to draw one clear line. If you are on insulin or a sulfonylurea, one of the older blood sugar pills, these foods can lower your sugar fast enough that your medication dose may suddenly be too high, and that can drop you into a low. So add these foods with your doctor watching your numbers and let them walk your medication dose down as your body improves. Do not stop any prescription on your own. Bring this list to your next appointment instead. So here is what to do tonight. 5 simple steps. 1. Tomorrow morning. Replace your cereal or toast with 2 or 3 whole eggs and half an avocado. That single swap changes your blood sugar for the entire day. 2. Tonight, soak a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water and drink it first thing in the morning. 3. Buy Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia, and start a 1/4 teaspoon a day in your coffee or oatmeal. 4. Before your biggest carbohydrate meal tomorrow, take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a full glass of water, 15 minutes ahead. 5. This week, swap white rice or white potato for lentils at least twice, and put fatty fish on the menu 2 nights. Stack these in over the next 2 weeks. You are not removing the foods you love. You are adding the foods that protect you. Now, before you go anywhere, I need 3 things from you, not for me, for the next person who needs to hear this. First, right now, in the comments, type the number that showed up on your glucose meter this morning. Just the number. Because the moment you comment, YouTube shows this video to another family searching for real answers instead of another prescription. Second, hit subscribe. This channel exists to give you the 15 minutes your doctor's office never has. Every week, one deeper explanation of what is actually happening inside your body. And third, this is the one that matters most. Send this video to one person you love who is quietly fighting their sugar. Just one. A husband. A sister. A neighbor. Because most of the people who need this information will never hear it unless you send it to them. One share prevents more complications than any single food on this list. So please do that one thing before you close this video. Now, everything we did today brings your sugar down during the day and after your meals. But a huge number of you have told me the same strange thing, that your highest reading of the whole day is first thing in the morning before you have eaten a single bite. You fasted all night and your sugar went up anyway. There is a specific reason your liver does that while you sleep, and there is a way to shut it down. I made a video that explains exactly what is happening overnight and how to wake up to a lower number. I will put it right here on the screen. Go watch that one next, and I'll see you there.